it in Friday.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
OverDrive off and running on a wonderful Friday. Welcome into OverDrive. Mike DiStefano in for Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles McLennan, Jeff O'Neill. What's happening, boys?
Lots to get into today, fellas. Lots to get into today. What a big victory last night. Man, what a way for you to start. I love my Cowboys. What a way to start. And you got to admit, Al's brother, Cowboys looked pretty good. Like
they did.
They did some things where you're like, they're not a total disaster. They can't stop the run. They have people run all over them. But pretty good from the Cowboys, and what a start from our team. What a start for Owen Wilson, and you guys got sucked in. You thought it was going to be a layup. And we also got to get into, was that guy, this is totally off topic, but was that guy talking really Lane Hudson's dad that was on that podcast?
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. I'm assuming it was. I mean, unless they got absolutely duped, but I'm pretty sure there's some photos that surface. That's what he looks like. So, yeah, I don't know what that was all about. Apparently, Lane Hudson's dad coming on some podcast.
Later. Yeah, we could get into it later. Let's get back to the football game.
I've got one quick comment before Al's brother retorts on what was a crushing blow last night. So I get a phone call early this morning saying, I'm really concerned about Al's brother. He might be a fraud. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And it's like, well, did he not realize that Philadelphia had lost a bunch of, like, some of their defensive guys who ended up getting paid by other teams?
Right.
Like, that's not the same team, right?
Yeah, and another guy spit on a guy 4 seconds into the game.
That was
ridiculous.
Outrageous.
Yeah, and that's a massive, he's their best player on the defense. Like, you lose Jalen Carter, who the whole game plan was around going away from him. And all of a sudden, if he's out of the game, that's a completely different offensive attack from the Dallas Cowboys.
How do you
what
make
was
that
he claiming
decision?
happened? Did he claim that Dak attempted to spit at him first?
Well, he did. I mean, look, you can see it right here. We're watching on TSN 2. Dak did spit on him. He didn't spit on him. He spit towards him down on the ground. What do you mean? That's what happened, and obviously took exception to it. And there's a big difference between spitting at someone and spitting on someone, which is exactly what Jalen Carter did, and he gets ejected before the first snap of the NFL season. It's absolutely outrageous, and he had to speak to the media afterwards and kind of eat some humble pie, but that was absolutely outrageous, and he is such a big part of that defense. It's a completely different ballgame.
How far away is Dak Prescott from him right there? Like, I just don't know how he assumed. Like, I don't know. Guys spit a lot. You watch hockey players, like, they're spitting constantly. And I don't know. I just couldn't see if, like, Dak was spitting on the ground or.
But, okay, so
I'll tell you what, another thing, he was pretty casual after the game. Like, most guys would have been crapping their pants, being like, I'm so embarrassed. I let the guys down. And he was just like, I got to deal with it, blah, blah, blah. And you spit on a guy, man.
I know, but they won, and he's a star player, so he's like, all right, let's see what's going to happen, a fine or whatever, a suspension. But I look at it, I agree, guys spit so much, it didn't look like Dak might have been spitting, but even if he spit in his direction, you're right, there's a difference between hawking a loogie on a guy's shoe and literally almost hitting him in the chin. Like, that was a pretty high up. Like, that was an intentional loogie. Put it that way. What we're calling it a spit gate? Is that what it is?
Spitgate? It's out there. Be the name that's trending right now. Loogie gate, spit gate. But
it's a bad look, and I get it. Like, we've seen guys do it before in every sport. It is a real sign of disrespect. That's flat out. What do you think the repercussions are? Is he going to get a game, you think? Will he get just a big fine? Like, what's?
I think spitting on a guy, you almost got. I don't know what the games, how they're allocated, but you would think there would be money and some kind of game. I don't know. We'd have to have Luke when we get him on.
Yeah, Luke will be on. Obviously, we'll get to the picks. We got another 4-pack of picks to make. We got to own this Team Hazenbro and get back on the saddle today, but. I think there's precedents like this has happened before, and there have not been suspensions. It's been fines. I mean, he did it before the first snap of the game. So essentially, he already didn't play an entire game. So you can look at it that way and say he essentially was suspended. He was sent off the field before the first snap. So there's your game. Absolutely, there should be a fine of some kind. But I think I looked in the back, and there was a couple of incidents where this did occur, and it ended up being a fine and not a suspension. So I'd be surprised, I guess, if suspension comes about from this, but certainly a fine.
Yeah, well, it's got to be like repercussions have to come for this. But I don't know if you would qualify that as a game just because of the timing of when it happened. If it happened in the third quarter, did they go, okay, well, this game isn't a wash? Like, the season wasn't even 5 seconds old. Like,
it was bizarre timing.
Outrageous.
Like, there was a guy injured, I believe, and that's when this happened, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a bizarre start to the game. It was like, that guy's hurt, and then the best player on defense is out of the game, and it's like, what the hell's going on right now? I think even Jason Kelsey tweeted, he's like, what the hell's going on out there?
Well, yeah. All of a sudden you're watching, and there's the injury, and all of a sudden you see a flag, and you hear Jalen Carter, number 98, has been ejected from the game. It's like, what? What exactly just happened right now? And then they show the replay, and you see, Hoxaloo right at his chest, and you can't do that. Like the NFL, they sent out a memo to all the teams this year saying that sportsmanship, essentially, and team and player-to-player respect is something that they're going to be harping on this year. So, there's going to be a lot more of those 15-yard flags for taunting. We saw another one last night. Nolan Smith had, he gets a tackle for loss on a run, and then he gets up, gives him a little flex, walks on him a bit, 15 yards, moved him up, and it's no longer a tackle for loss. And that's exactly, what we saw happen. So I don't know if maybe that could, if there's now different implications because that's what they want to harp on. Could they make an example out of Jalen Carter and maybe have a suspension for this? But it's just such a stupid thing to do at the start of a game. And it really put them behind the 8 ball right away. And it allowed the Cowboys really to kind of take advantage from that. It took the Philly crowd out of the game. The Cowboys go down the field, score on the opening drive. And then from there, they're in it. They're in that ball game right up until the whole game. I mean, 24-20. It was a one-score game. And that weather delay, though, really, really just killed the pace of that ball game.
Yeah, it did. Like the weather delay.
Are you blaming the whole thing on the weather delay?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Oh, really?
You can't tell me the way that game was going, where every single drive ended in points prior to that weather delay. You can't tell me that all of a sudden the Philadelphia Eagles, who have scored on every drive, force a big turnover, get the ball back, that they weren't going to go down the field and score, make an 11-point game. No shot that wasn't going to happen. Instead, they called the game. Jerry sent some plant seeding money down to the referees, and all of a sudden, you get an hour delay, kills momentum, and we don't see any more points get put up on the board when play resumed an hour later. Like, it just completely killed the pace of the game.
I'll just tell you one thing. There's a lot of people at this time of year, they've got their favorites as far as, like, MVP of the National Football League. Hurts is going to have a say in it if he, like, at the end of the year, like, if he just keeps playing like that and he's dynamic and running and getting in the end zone. Like, maybe it's not all about Saquon this year. It's hard to double down on what he did last year, but maybe it's Hurts that's, like, it's hard to ignore him if he does that all year long. Like,
he is a beast. But
like
all I could
beast of a man.
All I could think about with Spitgate was, remember the Seinfeld episode? Was it Keith Hernandez where they like spit in the direction of like Newman and it hit Kramer in the eye?
Yeah.
This is how stupid my mind gets when I was like, you think of like things that have happened. I'm like, all I could think of is Kramer's head getting thrown back as he gets shrapnel of the spit. And
everything can be linked to a Seinfeld episode. That's what I've realized in life.
But I do believe that the hour delay, like, it does affect the game. You wind down, and then you got to wind it right back up. It might affect the sync of the game. But Philadelphia was the better team, but Dallas looked good. Like, I had to go back and watch it today. I went to the Morgan Wallen concert last night, so I didn't watch it live. You're tracking it on the phone and all that. But then, seeing how it went down, like, for me, I think momentum does change because of that delay.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would have shifted, but Philadelphia was winning that game, but Dallas looked a lot better. We know they could score. They've got an offense. It's just
Absolutely.
defensively they're a mess.
And they could have won it late. Like CeeDee Lamb ended up with
those throws
like those
to
drops.
CeeDee Lamb were right in
Big
his
throws.
breadbasket every time.
And he took ownership after the game. He said, I got to make those catches. Like this one right here, that's in his arms, and it just somehow gets away from him. And that would have put them in prime position to keep that drive alive late in the game and potentially end it. And here's the one again on 4th down. Lays out for it, gets his fingertips, but can't corral it and bring it in. And that was the last time that Dallas touched the football at that point. And I was impressed with that offense. I was impressed with the offensive line. Maybe they're not going to be as much of a joke as we thought originally going into the year. Now, it is one game, so it's only one game, but the Dallas Cowboys look like they could be a competitive team and maybe be in the mix for a playoff spot. Is that fair to say?
In saying that, they would be so Cowboys to just go home, like Hayes said yesterday, and just get absolutely clobbered by the Giants.
Yes.
Like that is something that they would do.
And be 0-2 now. That's the thing.
Who knows with those guys, but they did look pretty good last night.
We're giving them flowers. They still lost, right? And again, against arguably the best team in the National Football League. But they still lost. They're 0-1. They can't go 0-2. Like, what is the stats up 0-2 off the start of the year?
Not very good.
Yeah, it's not high.
Great, right?
Not high.
They're not great, but there's a good team that does it every year. Like, it seems like Cincy does it every year, and God knows where they end up. It's like kind of flip a coin. But starting 0-2, there's not good odds on getting into the playoffs.
No. Week 2 will be important for the Cowboys if they want to keep their season alive. We've got more games tonight. You guys are on the clock. Chiefs, Chargers down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I'm fascinated to see what this Chiefs team looks like, because for the last couple of years, the offense has looked a little stale. But it seems like everything that we're hearing coming out of Chiefs camp, whether it's from Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, like they're ready to get that explosiveness put back into that offense. I'm excited to see what it looks like tonight.
But it's so difficult because they all said that the loss last year was really humbling. They got their ass kicked. They all admitted to it. They didn't lie to themselves about it, but you can't fast forward to the next Super Bowl to get kind of redemption on that. You still got to play the 17 games and go through the grind. That's the difficulty of redemption at the start of a season, where it's like, okay, we're pissed off, but you could have an upset in week 1 or week 2, and you're like, that's our new problem. We're not thinking about what happened at the Super Bowl. So Can they take that anger or frustration or the ass beating that they got in the Super Bowl? They just literally got to take it into week 1 and start there, and we'll see what they look like.
Keep in mind, regardless of them winning or losing, they have been winners, and they're almost a dynasty technically. They've got a target on their back. Everybody wants a chunk of Kansas City.
Yeah.
That's, when you look at it, the Chargers are going to be fired up. I think, bigger picture, they've got to start without distraction. I always think Kelsey's a distracted athlete right now, and I know maybe things will settle down.
I think he's dropped a few LBs. I think somebody got in his ear, and it might have been Andy Reid. What's that?
You like Kelsey this year? You think he bounces back?
I don't know if I like him this year, but I think he looked a little bit he just was lumbering a little bit last year, where I'm like, there's not a lot of juice out there. And Mahomes even made a point in one of their pressers. He was like, look at that shirt on him, man. It's loose this year. So I don't know who got it. It was probably Andy Reid. He said, you better get your ass in shape. Yeah. And you better be looking different when you come back to camp, regardless of what's going on in your personal life.
Yeah. That might have helped, because there was times last year I just felt like, you watch a Kansas City game and the highlights are like that guy was in New York the night before with Taylor Swift at a concert or doing something, right? And then, got to play on Sunday type of thing. I'm paraphrasing and probably exaggerating a little bit, but I always felt
he went to South America during the bye week to go and watch Taylor perform. If I recall, it just felt like he had a lot on his plate last year. Think of how popular he became. He was a popular athlete as it was, and then you start dating the most popular, arguably one of the most popular people on the planet. Yeah. There was a lot of attention, a lot of getting pulled in a lot of different directions. If he was 85% focused, that's kind of what, maybe this year he's 100% focused, because I do think he's
He's a pivotal part for them, even regardless of his age.
Yeah, he's got to be. He's got to be. I mean, when the Chiefs were rolling, it's because that guy was the safety blanket for Patrick Mahomes. And there's no Rashee Rice, right? His suspension kicks in. He won't be there for the first 6 weeks of the season. Maybe Xavier Worthy takes that second-year jump, potentially. Hollywood Brown's in the mix. You know, you've got Isaiah Pacheco, who hopefully is back and healthy. They've improved the offensive line a little bit on the left side. So you do like the pieces on that offense. We'll see if it can come together. But it's a divisional game. Right? It's a divisional game on a neutral site, and those are always going to be tight. I think for the last 6 games between the Chargers and the Chiefs have been settled by a field goal or less.
And wasn't the first game down in South America or wherever it was last year? It might have been Philly. I don't know.
It was Philly and Green Bay, yeah.
And the field was trash.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
The field was trash. So who knows what the game's going to be like. There's going to be all kinds of factors, but I don't know. San Diego or Los Angeles, like, they always have these expectations with Herbert and their coach, and they always seem to just come up flat. So they get the build-up every year as they're, the Chargers are this, the Chargers are that, and they always just come up flat, so we'll see what they got.
Maybe this is the year they do it. Herbert, everyone talks about how he has one of the strongest arms in the league.
Great quarterback. But
my son's favorite quarterback.
Is
I
it
told
now?
you guys, I had to order a Herbert jersey.
How does that happen? How does your son up in
7
Toronto
years
become
old.
a Herbert
I have
fan?
no idea. Told me the other day, he's like, Daddy, I want to play hockey. I said, yeah, whatever. He goes, I want to play for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm like, where are you coming with that? Like, out of nowhere.
Well, at least someone wants to play for Winnipeg. There you go.
Well, hey, you know what I wanted to bring up is these free agents, everyone's focused on McDavid, and rightfully so, and Rashog, talked to him, and it sounds like he's just methodically going through his pace, but Cale Makar needs a contract. Like, Cale Makar's name has not been bandied out there at all. Like,
next year he's a free agent?
I believe he's on the list.
Hold on.
Like, I was looking at it.
I can't imagine what the number we talked about Kaprizov's deal, and the owner of Minnesota yesterday wanting to blow that contract out of the water with Kaprizov. I can't imagine.
One more year on it.
Yeah. So what does he have? 2 more years? One and
this year and one more, yeah.
Okay, so his contract comes up next summer then.
Yeah.
That's a guy, they got rid of Rantanen just so that they can write that guy a huge check.
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be, we'll see what McDavid comes in at, but Makar is going to be a monster number.
It's a big
Colorado.
year. It's a big year.
Is.
Well, we'll see how many guys make it. Like this time last year, you looked at the list of potential free agents, and Marner ends up signing in Vegas with the sign and trade before July 1. Rantanen ends up signing in Dallas. You end up seeing Marchand signing. All the Florida guys stay. Like, it didn't turn out to be a big fireworks free agent frenzy like we thought it'd be. But you look at it, right now, you mentioned McDavid obviously being the top of the list there, but Jack Eichel.
Brother, the thing that I ask about McDavid, and like for people that are like, oh, give up the McDavid talk, it's just so polarizing that the best player in the world is talking about this, and we're actually experiencing this. He says he wants to make sure he gets things right, and what I find kind of weird about all that is it's a situation that he's so familiar with.
Right.
Like, he's played there for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's not like he just got traded last year to San Jose, and he played in San Jose 1 year, and he's not really familiar with the area, the schools, this or that. He's so familiar with everything, and that's what makes people ask the questions. What are you still evaluating? Like, does the team have to pull the trigger and get different goaltending? Do they have to upgrade something? What do they have to do, or what is he looking at? Because everything else he knows like the back of his hand. He's been there for so long.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is, like, from what I've been talking to some people out there, and kind of there's a fine line that he keeps talking about, threading the needle type of thing.
About what, Jamie?
About term and, what type of money. And it's not the other day I said he could write himself a check in 3 years for like $24 million a year. I don't think that's what he's thinking. I think what he's trying to do is thread the needle to still, be a highly paid player, which he will be the top of the heap, but also not like hamstring his team. And then you look at term. Like, I would be shocked, and again, this is just my personal opinion, like, he's going to sign. Like, I think there's you look at Jeff Jackson did an interview the other day with Bob Stauffer, and, again, it's just the epitome of poise. He's just like, yeah, we'll get this done. We'll get a number. We'll get a term. It comes back to, his agent, Judd. McDavid talked about it with Rashog, saying, we're going to figure this out. He goes, it's just a lot to unpack. And I just don't know if it's a scenario where he's thinking, okay, go short term so I can go a lower number potentially and we can, get another good player type of thing. Or do you go longer term so that you just feel like, you've got your money set and you just worry about playing hockey. But, it again, we're talking about it. What is September 5th? And we're talking about, I believe
it was going to
done.
happen. If there was no contract by now, you knew that conversation was going to be very loud. But even McDavid said himself today, if you can't play through that, then you're in the wrong line of business, essentially, is what he said. But another thing that he mentioned in his comments today, and if we want, we can play them. We have the comments here. But essentially, what I thought was interesting is you mentioned that, the one thing is term, but he also mentioned winning is most important, but he also alluded to a salary cap. And that makes me believe that maybe he is willing to take a discount, but that's only if he can see the vision that the money he leaves on the table goes to the right places.
Correct.
Because how many times have we seen teams, convince their players to take a discount, and then they go and they sign Joe Blow for $3 million instead, and he turns out to do absolutely nothing for the franchise. And it's why are you wasting our time here? So he needs to know that if he takes a discount and he takes that investment away, what are you doing? What are you spending it on? There's nothing this summer that I saw that they did that leads me to believe that they've invested properly with the cap space that they have realistically. I didn't love their summer.
I liked their summer because they got younger.
Do?
They got the Howard kid, right? Like that. They got Mangiapane at a really good number. Mangiapane is scored 28 a couple years ago. Like, he can play in your top six. They signed that Tomasek for $1 million. That's a good European player that they're going to give an opportunity to. And if he doesn't make the team, you put him in the minors and you use that money for somebody else. What they did is give a runway for some. Listen, they lost
Jamie,
Broberg,
let's be honest.
Holloway.
Those are nice players, but those aren't blowing anybody away.
But they also lost Evander Kane and they lost Corey Perry.
Keep in mind, okay, so Evander Kane's replacement is already on that roster. He was hurt last year. And it's they got him. I'm drawing a blank on his name now. Left shot, high ankle sprain. Frederick.
Oh, Trent Frederick?
Yes, Trent Frederick. That's Kane's replacement right there. And then, to me, I think what they're doing is seeing what they have, and then they're going to give themselves space to go for potentially somebody else during the season. I think that's what Toronto's doing too. I think Toronto's got good players, but they're giving themselves some flexibility that if teams become sellers, they can be in on player X, player Y, and bring them in a top six role, in a defensive role, you name it, in a goaltending role. Like, I think that's what they're doing. I don't think that team's complete yet, but what they are seeing is if Savoy can play, if Philp can play, like guys that are, younger and have to push through because they lost Holloway, they lost Broberg. Those are things that that hurt them last year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into more of this. Obviously, Chris Johnson, our TSN Hockey Insider, going to join us on the other side. Luke Wilson back at 5. We'll make some picks. And we got a big Jays series tonight. Jays down in New York, taking on the Yankees. Keegan Matheson going to help tee that game with us at 5:30. You listen to Overdrive on TSN 2 on TSN 1050. Coming up next, Chris Johnston. Overdrive continues on TSN 2 and up on TSN 1050. Mike DiStefano in for Brian Hayes, Jeff O'Neill, and Jamie Noodles McLennan with you for the afternoon. Luke Wilson, Keegan Matheson going to join us a little bit later on. But on the phone, we got Chris Johnson, our TSN Hockey Insider. What's going on, CJ? Good to chat with you.
Yeah, good to hear from you guys. Not too much. Everyone made it through the first week of school. Hockey's starting soon. Life's good.
Yeah, hockey's starting soon, and McDavid is without a contract. That's obviously been the biggest story here leading up to camp. What's your take on that whole situation? Do we see something get done before camp, or does it really feel like McDavid's comfortable heading into this season without a deal?
Well, it's very clear that he's comfortable taking his time and doing things on his own schedule, which quite frankly, I think there's nothing wrong with that. He's earned the right, much like other players have in the past, to play things out. It takes 7 years in the current CBA before players get the right to go to UFA. Obviously, in his case, we're talking about the top player in the world. It's going to be a story. It has been a story. He got put through the ringer again today with the media there in Edmonton. But I think he's very comfortable with where he's at, and so I don't have really a prediction in terms of how this is going to go or how long it's going to take. I believe him when he says that all options are on the table. I mean, that's consistent with everything I'm hearing behind the scenes. I just think that he's not going to be forced by any media conversation, by anyone in the front office, by anything into doing something he's not comfortable with. And at this point in time, he needs time to decide, where his next deal is going to be, what it's going to look like, and how all that shakes out.
CJ, that's fine and dandy and everything. You have the right to do when you're the best player in the universe. You can do whatever you want. But we were discussing in the first segment how I found it odd how he wants to do that, and he's also so familiar with the situation. Like, this guy's been there for 10 years. It's not a scenario where he's just got traded to San Jose last year and he wanted to feel a few things out. So that begs the question, what exactly is the feeling out? Like, does he want to see if there's a goaltending change? Does he want to see if something's shored up in a certain area? Like, that's what, when you do this, it's going to leave it open to questions about what are you feeling out here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're fair questions, and they're questions that I'm sure will continue to be asked of him as long as this is unresolved and is kind of in the status quo stage it is right now. And, I don't think it's just one thing. Look, this team has been to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, but I know the internal feeling in Edmonton is that they took a step back from 2024 to 2025. That, look, it says a lot about how great a team they are that they were down to the last 2 standing, but they lost ground to the Panthers in that 12 months. It could be that Connor wants to see, what the team has this season. How do things start? How does it feel? I mean, I just think he's really would be concerned. And this isn't just with Edmonton. It's anywhere he might think about playing at any time. He's not going to want to box himself in somewhere where he doesn't feel that he has a great chance to win. And so, I don't know what it will be for him that sort of says, okay, this is the best spot to stay here with the Oilers, but you look at the other players on that team and he's talked a lot referencing this season. Like, I think he's correct to look at the team this year and say they've got a good shot. They may not have taken a big step forward in any way that we can pinpoint this summer, but they certainly, I don't think, took massive steps back, and they've just been to those 2 cup finals. So, I do think that he just wants to get really comfortable with the idea that whatever the next contract is, that he's going to have a chance to win a Stanley Cup in that playing season, because, he's played all those years you mentioned. He's been the top player in the game, 800-point seasons already. He's been the leading playoff point getter 3 of the last 4 years, and it hasn't been good enough for his team to win the Cup. And, you've heard him, too, in some of the interviews. I saw the one he gave to Ryan Rishaug last night. He's talked about that he feels pressure that he can be even better. But, I think at a certain point, if you're him, how much more do you have to give? I would hate to put that challenge in front of him, because it seems like he can do pretty much anything he puts his mind to. But, he's got to feel like he's surrounded by the right chances to win. He thinks that's the case this season. He's under contract with the Oilers. But I think starting 2026-27, he's got some questions, and he's still working through that process.
So outside of McDavid, is there any other, looming free agent we'll talk about, or you can pinpoint that maybe we're not focusing enough on, that maybe isn't just a slam dunk that they sign in their respective organizations?
It's hard to say. The McDavid story is going to take up all the oxygen around the league, just because of who he is. And, we haven't seen not that I can remember we've seen a player of that magnitude where it's even a whiff of a possibility they could become a UFA. So, just even that, and I'm not saying that that's at the table here. I think there's a lot of months before June 30th, which is the last day the Oilers control his rights as of now. There's a lot of things that could happen in the meantime, but as time goes along, people are going to start to imagine, what if he left? Where would he go? All those sorts of things. So that story is going to be massive. You've got a number of great players around the league, though, that aren't signed, that are in a similar spot to him, but they're just not on his level. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov is 1 year out from potential UFA, Jack Eichel in Vegas, Kyle Connor in Winnipeg. I think with all three of those players, there's been dialogue and there is ongoing dialogue between the players' agents and the teams about getting an extension done, much the way the Oilers would love to do, of course, with Connor McDavid. And, we'll see if any of that happens. I think in some ways they're all tied together. We're also living, if you step back even further, we're in this world where you got all of a sudden a $95.5 million cap for this season. These guys would be starting their next deals in a year where the cap's going to go to $104 million. So it's a little bit of a different environment. And so I think that any agent with a client that has some leverage is going to really be careful or be thoughtful, I guess, about what those next contracts look like. So it all sets up that it could be fascinating next summer. Maybe this plays out through the season and a lot of those players extend. I mean, I think there's a world, frankly, where they all stay where they are. But right now we don't know that. And, we're getting closer and closer to camp. And so that's a little bit of a pressure point in those kind of negotiations.
CJ, I think yourself, along with the other insiders, were mentioning teams last year saying everybody wants to be a buyer and everyone kind of some way, somehow like their team. And we mentioned teams like Toronto and Edmonton that might want to add. Like, how long is it going to take for some of these teams who are completely fooling themselves to thinking that they're any good? Like, is that U.S. Thanksgiving date going to be blown out of the water when teams realize 10 games in that they're trash? Like, what are these guys going to do?
I mean, it could be even sooner. I mean, basically, there's not for all the optimism out there or front offices that feel pretty good about their team. There's just not enough standings points available for
Which
them
means
all
you're
to be
fooling
good.
yourself to begin with. Like, and the most important assessment is your own assessment of your own team.
Sure. Well, and a lot of these front offices are managing up to an owner or someone who represents the owner, and sometimes that can be a factor here. We've been kind of through the last couple of seasons. Like, you look at it, San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim, and the Ducks maybe get an asterisk because they took a step forward last year. But a lot of these teams have been at the bottom of the standings for multiple seasons. They've sold off a lot of their experienced players at the past few trade deadlines. And now they've actually drafted, made some high draft picks, and they're excited about those players. And so they think that they're going to start to take a step forward towards respectability. Well, I mean, it's almost like gravity. If they go up, someone's got to come down. I mean, last year, probably the best example of that was the Boston Bruins. They didn't go into last year's training camp thinking they'd be, a team right near the bottom of the standings, which is where they ended up. I don't think they went to training camp imagining that they'd be trading away, heart and soul players like Brad Marchand, Brandon Carlo, Charlie Coyle. I mean, a lot of players that had brought success there over a number of seasons were they basically had to pivot on the fly and trade those guys ahead of the deadline. And so I think there's probably going to be a team like a Boston, 2.0, we'll call it. I mean, there's going to be, I can't sit here and say which one it's going to be, but reality will hit pretty starkly. And there's going to be opportunity in that, because if you're one of the few teams out there with really good players to sell, I mean, it can be something that can turn things around quickly. I mean, we saw the Capitals turn their program around pretty quickly. 2 years ago, it was the Calgary Flames, had all those UFAs they traded out of town. And last year they nearly made the playoffs. And I know they feel good about where they're at today. So, I think naturally the standings, the start of the season is going to, probably force a little bit of a reality check in some places. And maybe you start to see a bit more player movement, fall out of that. But I mean, this has been the quietest summer I can remember. I mean, obviously lots of players were free agents and signed new contracts, but there wasn't really much on the transaction front beyond that.
Well, to build off that, CJ, too, like, I wonder if you could see teams being a little bit more aggressive earlier in the year. Because with the NHL taking or implementing the new salary cap in the playoffs, it also allows or doesn't really allow cap accrual to be as important. And I wonder if that would allow teams to start making moves a little earlier than usual.
I think it's possible, certainly. I mean, we still don't – it might take a few years for us to even really grasp the true implications of the playoff cap. I mean, what we do know is that, they're trying to address the issue of teams that have used LTI to basically build rosters that were, outsized of the salary cap. I mean, the Panthers brought on a guy like Brad Marchand at last year's deadline while Matthew Tkachuk was on LTI. And then, when he got to the playoffs, Tkachuk was able to play, and you had both players on the same team because there's no cap in place. I mean, so we know what the NHL and the Players Association have tried to do with the tweaks to the rules in the new CBA, but we don't know how the teams themselves are going to respond yet. And look, the smart teams and the smart GMs and AGMs out there, they're always looking for ways to operate in the gray. They're looking for ways to do things legally, but tilt the system in their favor. So I'm sure things will crop up. It leaves me here. It's hard to conclude or say, definitively what it's going to mean, other than I do think it's probably not going to be as busy at the deadline this season. And so, yeah, hopefully that means there's more trades during the year because, we know that that's part of the lifeblood of the sport, just in terms of driving interest, driving conversation. And, if you're a fan, of the team, you love it when your team's out there adding players and trying to make moves to win a Stanley Cup.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Even what you were talking about, too. Like, is there any team in the NHL, we can all weigh in, that's in a defined rebuild? Because we talked about the Anaheims and San Jose's and Chicago's. They've been in rebuilds, but they're trying to head north, right? Like they're trying to get better to help their young. Would Pittsburgh be the only known open seller right now in the National Hockey League?
I would say they're the only full-scale seller in their mind and in their approach. But even them, it's kind of an asterisk to their situation, but they're going through an ownership change.
Right.
And, I don't even know exactly what that means for what they can do operationally, but I would suggest to you that they probably can't operate in a full sales mode the way, Kyle Dubas and the guys who work with them there would probably prefer to. So, we might actually be in a strange world where nobody is truly full on embracing the rebuild. And, that's probably helps explain a little bit why it was such a quiet summer. But I'm just looking quickly at last year's standings. I mean, everybody thinks they're good.
Yeah.
Philadelphia was at the bottom of the Metro last year. They're trying to be a better team. Obviously I think they'll trade some players away probably by the deadline. The Islanders made a GM change. They had 82 points last year. So I just don't see a lot of teams that would openly call themselves okay, we know it's going to be 3 years, and as good as this Gavin McKenna is that's coming in the 2026 draft, and by all accounts, he's a star to superstar level, number one overall pick potential. I don't see anyone right now trying to fail to win that pick.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm looking at the standings right now as well. Chicago wants to head northward, Utah, San Jose, Seattle, Nashville. They went heavy last year. They're probably hoping they could regroup before they go the other way. Give it at least one more year with that group. But everyone else, besides Pittsburgh, feels like they have a chance, or think they have a chance at the very least.
Al's brother, of those teams you just mentioned, honestly, there might be one that takes a leap and is playoff, kind of playoff bound. Of those teams you just mentioned, there might be one.
Utah.
That's the thing, though. The question is, and CJ just brought this up too, if the Islanders take us, what if Boston has a bounce back year? Swayman is on time, feels good. It's not going through a contract squabble. McAvoy healthy. Lindholm healthy. You see players that settle in. They made some moves. What if Boston now pushes back in the Atlantic? Does Buffalo at some point have a year where things fall into place for them instead of fall apart? Detroit, same thing. They go and get John Gibson. Or they feel that they better. I look at the East. It's wide open because a lot of teams believe that they are really good teams there. That's going to be the challenge. They're all going to be taking points off of each other. CJ.
Yeah. It's. I mean, this is, I guess, what the league wants: parity, right?
Right.
You could probably win a bar bet with your friends by asking, how many points the Florida Panthers finished ahead of Calgary last year in the regular season, because it was 2. And most people probably wouldn't know that. And obviously Florida they're the kind of team, they get in the playoffs. We all know what they're capable of. It doesn't matter where they finish. They don't mind starting on the road, all that stuff. But, the difference between the highest classes of the league and the lowest, I think it's just a narrow band. Maybe it might be another tough year in San Jose, I would say. Like they still have some room to go there, but they're not intentionally. I mean, they were trading and signing veterans this summer. Like they don't want to have another year at the bottom of the standings. They're trying to climb up with Celebrini and Will Smith and everyone else. So, yeah, it's just a funny point in the cycle of the league.
CJ, how'd you feel about your Cowboys last night?
Mixed emotions in that one. I didn't expect them to even make a game of it, to be honest, and they made a game of it. So
yeah, they were good, man.
I thought so. Yeah, you should be happy with. I mean, they lost obviously, but they competed. Yeah,
the fact that, because I didn't know how the whole Micah Parsons situation, if what kind of effect that might have on his teammates, the players left behind. There's a lot of unknowns there, but the way they dug in and they were on it, and they obviously had a chance. I mean, unfortunately, CeeDee Lamb dropped a couple balls, and I like that he came out and kind of owned that publicly. I think it's. I'm still cautiously optimistic it'll be a decent year, but I'm not thinking it ends with a Super Bowl as much as I'd love to see that happen.
I just don't see that happening either, buddy. As much as I would love it for you and Pierre, I just don't see it happening. All right, buddy. Good chatting. We'll do it again soon.
Right on. Have a great weekend, guys.
You as well. Chris Johnston, TSN Hockey Insider. Yeah, you bring up a good point, Noodles. Like, there's no teams that are in a true rebuild, and even Pittsburgh, they're in a rebuild, but they're not. Who are they moving?
They just don't want to say it. They just don't want to come out and say we stink.
They're not trading Malkin. They're not trading Letang, Crosby. Who are they going to trade for?
I think that's the biggest thing. You're waiting for a shoe to drop, where it's like Kyle gets the go-ahead from ownership or whatever. It's saying, blow this thing up. Then you have to approach 87 and say, what are we doing here? What would you like to do? He deserves that respect. But that's the only organization I can see that would be kind of like open for business. Now, again, you're right. 10 games in, 12 games in, up to 20 games in, we're going to see some teams go, why did they think that they were competitive? Why did we, what?
Yeah, like if you're an owner, you go up to a GM and say, you actually thought these guys would be in the hunt in the spring? They're terrible.
But I also see every team feels that they, have a chance and have improved over whether internally you get older and you get guys that have a little bit more experience. It's their second, third year type of thing. Or, we had a bad season last year. We can get back on it. Like Nashville's fascinating for me.
Yeah.
Like does Marchessault and Stamkos show up there and be difference makers now in a positive way? And the Roman Josi situation's a real concerning situation, but UC Saros didn't have a great season last year. If he bounces back and is a great goaltender, all of a sudden now Nashville's back in the mix. Like, what is Vancouver going to do? Vancouver had just a hot mess on their hands last year. It seemed like everything didn't go well. What if Demko looks amazing, Quinn Hughes looks amazing, and what if your boy Pettersson shows up and is a player?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're like, Vancouver looks good. So that's what's fascinating. I can't wait for the puck to drop because, doing my research, like you're like, I forgot that, Ehlers is here and Cody Cece's here. Like there was a lot of change in players throughout the league. It just wasn't as big a marquee summer as you guys were talking about.
Right. Well, it's going to be fascinating, and we're just a little over a week away from the opening of training camps, and then next thing, before you know it, the regular season will be here on October, and it'll be go time. It'll be go time in a few minutes. Got our picks coming up. You're on the clock for tonight. We got the weekend picks to make as well. So Luca to join us in about 15 minutes. Keegan Matheson to tee up tonight's big Jays and Yankees bout down in the Bronx. Mike DiStefano with Jeff O'Neill and Jamie McLennan. You listen to OverDrive on TSN 1050 and TSN 2.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Take my breath away and make it last forever. Do it now or never. Take my breath.
Mail it in In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. I'm sure there'll be quite a few patrons inside the Boston Pizzas tonight watching this Jays game that's going to be underway in a couple of hours. Biggest game of the season, biggest series of the season. I don't think that's hyperbolic to say.
I don't think that that's far off from the truth. I mean, you're going in there against that team. I think they're great games when the Jays go in there. It's just what an environment, and it's just a heater matchup. And I mean, it's not do or die. I don't think if the Jays get smoked, they're like, it's panic time. But it's a massive series, man. They can really separate and prove something here.
That's what it is, though. It's an opportunity to kind of say goodbye to them. Like, it's not like we're middle of the season. We're nearing the end of the season. If you can sweep this series or, win 2 or 3 type of thing, you can keep them down there for good and then continue on the rest. I think you can say goodbye to them.
Yeah,
Jamie, you know what it's like if they get it to like half a game and then everybody starts panicking a little bit. Exactly. If you get that comfort and that confidence, it does. And there's a lot of veteran players in that clubhouse, but it does a lot for everybody if you just create that separation.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, it's going to be massive. There's some other news kind of coming out, breaking news, I guess, in the last little bit with the Blue Jays. Rob Longley tweeting this. Blue Jays flipping rotation plans this weekend. Max Scherzer will be pushed back a day to Sunday, with Chris Bassett moving to Saturday.
Interesting.
That's concerning.
That's concerning.
Just because of what happened with the thumb and what the thumb turned into. Yeah,
the back.
The thumb, the back, and everything. So what's the back going to turn into? Hopefully it's just one of those things. It's a one-day setback, and he's good to go because he's been awesome the second half.
Oh, he's been fantastic. He's been great, but struggled a little bit in the last outing and did have the back tightness is what they called it. Said it wasn't, overly concerning, but now you're pushing him back a day. What's the level concern? It's a couple shots at least.
Stevie Caldwell.
Stevie Caldwell. I think so.
That's what it is.
Well, we'll ask Keegan Matheson. He'll join us at 5:30, help tee up the game. Luke Wilson coming up on the other side. Hour 2 of OverDrive comes up next.
It's Mail It In Friday.
The plant called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in Monday.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive. Al's brother, Noodles, myself. I have to say one thing. I just saw something go across the dasher.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I always find it weird. It's like Chris Pronger, Shea Weber, and now Carey Price.
Yep.
When a guy's contract gets traded, I mean, I like. Should it be allowed? Like, it's so goofy, Jamie.
It's so dumb.
It is.
But that's what it's a CBA loophole that probably at some point you have to either close it or whatever. But he's now a San Jose Shark, correct?
I know. And doesn't it make the team that acquired the contract look? And it just makes them seem like they're not for real.
You're right. This is with the cap going up. There's a floor. So if San Jose's not going to if they've got a bunch of young guys on entry-level deals, they need the money on their cap so that they can get to at least the floor and over top of that. And what it does for Montreal is it frees up some money if they want to continue to add to that group. I'll tell you this. I think that management group in Montreal has done a hell of a job there.
I agree.
They have done a hell of a job. They got a team, and I know we talked about it off the open in the show. Lane Hudson's dad. I reached out to Craig Button today because I wanted to know the rules of, can a player who's played in, for example, the U.S. program just switch and go because he's got dual citizenship, I want to play for Canada now. I believe there's a process. The only thing, like Craig sent me, some clips and stuff. Peter Nedved apparently did something like that back in the day.
Yeah, he played for Canada in the World Championships or something.
But there is a process, and it's a timing thing too. You can't just wake up one day and go, "Hey, I'm going to play for this one because they cut me." so I'm going over here type of thing. There's an amount of time. I think it's a couple years that you have to
3-year waiting period, I believe,
to go through the process. So, I don't know. All I would say is I think Hudson's an unbelievable player, and he's just going to get better. He's going to play in the Olympics. If it's unfortunately not this year, he'll play in the next one. I think he's that good and going to be that special.
Well, what I don't understand is what the hell would be, and this isn't peewee hockey in a bunch of different ways.
Right.
First one is your dad can't be going on podcasts complaining about stuff because your feelings are hurt, because not everybody gets a trophy and it's the National Hockey League. This is where the NHL is more like peewee than ever before. Like parents are really involved. They're at a lot of games in the NHL, which involves flying on an airplane. Like, it was when we played, Jamie, like people's parents were only around once in a blue moon and in the hometowns. It seems like parents nowadays, and it's great. If they're all got enough cash and they can afford to do it, it's great. But it's a completely different league. I just wonder, like, was the kid informed that his dad was going to do that? Or did he...
I don't know.
Did he just pop up and say, I'm going to go on this podcast? Because I'd be mortified if my dad went on a podcast and was talking like that without me knowing.
We have the audio. Do you want to play the audio of what we're talking about here? So, Lane Hudson's father, Lane Hudson, obviously not invited to the U.S. Olympic orientation camp last week, and his father joined a Montreal Canadiens podcast to voice his displeasures, if you will.
Listen, and you never know what happens in the future. Like, my boys are also Canadian, so there is an absolute luxury there, and a lot of great players have been left off the selection for Olympics and things like that. And, I think Brett Hall might have been one of them. I think he voted with his feet. He went from Canada to the U.S. Like, there's all types of scenarios that are I wouldn't say in play, but are possibilities, right?
Is he his agent now? Like, I don't understand why he's out there talking about this.
What's the agent saying now? Well, first of all, let's just say this about the kid. Why not give him to the orientation camp? Like, what's the harm in having him at the orientation camp?
That was a surprise not to see him there. That was a big
Unless
surprise.
you're literally so dead set. Because I will say one thing about the Four Nations when it happened. The smaller players, for whatever reason, they didn't seem to shine through. Although Mitch Marner is not a big guy, and he had the biggest play of the tournament. But some other small guys, they always talked about how physical, how fast, and how little time there was. And there was some smaller guys that didn't exactly stand out. Would that affect Lane Hudson? I'm not sure. But why he just couldn't get even an invite to the orientation camp, I don't know. Like, what if he's so good during the regular season where you're like, I got to have this guy on the team?
Well, I think that's where there's an outlier. He can push through, and they go, you made the team. Like, I think there is going to be some, the difference from the orientation camp to the actual team that gets iced. There might be one player that has an amazing start to the season. You're like, you got to find a spot for that guy. Lane Hudson might be that guy. I know I saw, obviously, it's Montreal. They're very passionate about this kid because he's that good. I think he's a star right now, and he's just getting better. He's just, starting in the league. So, yes, I agree with you. Probably could have found a spot for him right now, and we're not talking about this.
Yes.
But he is going to play in the Olympics. Like, he's that good.
Eventually, absolutely.
Maybe he can fast track it because he has a great start to the season, and they go, you know what, we missed one. But I get sad or frustrated for the guys who get invited, and you're like, he's better than this player, he's better than that player, because those guys are good too. Now, you can argue the Adam Foxes didn't have great seasons, guys like that. You can go, Hudson had a better season than this player, or player X, player Y, but ultimately they see something there. I think Hudson can play himself onto that roster this year by having a good start to the season.
He could.
Like I think that's a fair assessment.
It comes down to
good of a player.
It comes down to roles too, right? Like, you're not just building an all-star team; you're trying to build a team that wins, right? So you already have a guy like Quinn Hughes, who's going to be a top power play, smaller defenseman. Do you want to have two of those guys on your team? Maybe not.
That is a great point. If you've got Quinn Hughes out there that's going to be lugging the pill around for 30 minutes a night, How much ice time is there going to be for another skilled defenseman to carry the puck around up there?
Right.
Bill Guerin made a point last year. It just seemed the way he formed his roster, he wanted big, strong, physical guys out there. And Quinn Hughes, you're right. And back behind him, guess who there's going to be? It's going to be Rowensky. So Rowensky's a pretty damn good defenseman, and he's going to be carrying the pill too.
You're going to need someone to kill penalties.
So it's a great point, Al's brother. There's got to be role definition, and different guys are going to be doing different things.
And we'll get into it more because the debate was about Evan Bouchard on this side, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, McCarr's got that spot, so they're going to put somebody else there. And Bouchard didn't make it. Didn't have a great start to his season.
And they went with Parayko and Sanheim as two guys, two bigger body players, and even Thomas Harley as the alternate when it got down to it. So, it's going to be a fascinating story. Still has a chance, right? Just because he didn't make it to the camp doesn't mean that you're not going to have an opportunity to make the team. But he's going to have to play his ass off and prove that he belongs there. And I think that he'll put forward a valiant effort. I think he's a good player. It's a good team. We'll see where it goes.
If you smell what the Owen Wilson is cooking.
Jeez. Coming in hot. I hate that music. I hate that music so much.
I see a winner. I see a winner.
Partsy, 1-0. That's all we can ask for, Partsy. 1-0. We got it done last night. We knew we would. We got to keep our foot on the gas side. I'm honestly, I think week one's going to be an immaculate weekend. I really do.
Parts, I got to ask you this, Parts. Like, if it was our pick, do you think you could have, sifted through the weeds and said, we're going to take the Cowboys with this pick? Do you think we would have done that? Or would you have just jumped on board like everyone else?
Do you want my honest answer or do you want my non-honest answer?
Give me the straight, honest answer.
I would have taken the Eagles at 8.5.
Of course.
Now, I'll be honest. As I put in the group, as soon as you guys are going to laugh at this, but I'm sitting in the boardroom above Jay's studio, and I'm actually texting a buddy because I'm like, oh, it's an injury, And all of a sudden, I just hear, and Jalen Carter's been ejected. I go, what? I look up. I'm like, what happened? We haven't had a play. I looked over at my producer and the thing, and I said, I am now 1-0 on the OverDrive. Or we are now 1-0. I mean, Partsy, you want to talk about getting a break? Jalen Carter being kicked out before even having a snap. I mean, without Jalen Carter, the spread's probably 4.5. That's how much of a difference.
What did you make of that whole
defense.
Scene? What does he deserve for that nonsense?
I'll tell you, and we talked a bit about it on Jay last night. What's going to be funny is that every year, and I'm not making this up, I'm not exaggerating, every single year that I played, in camp, it'd be like the second week of camp, and they'd be like, the NFL sending an officials crew in, and they give you this big chat. Hey, here's the point of emphasis. If you're getting held, this is, based on position. This is the guy looking for this. This is the guy looking for that. And then they put on a video. Again, it's clockwork. And it's Troy Vincent talking about the points of emphasis this year. Last year's point of emphasis, if you remember this, was offensive linemen lining up too deep in the backfield. Okay. This year's point of emphasis is sportsmanship. And when you have that, any little sportsmanship thing, the referees are trained to be like, we got to throw, we got to make an example. Our guy, Jalen Carter, comes out before a snap and spits on someone in the year of sportsmanship. I'm telling you, they have to suspend him. They have to do it. I mean, again, they've been emphasizing this the whole offseason. A man spit on another man. He's got to get suspended.
Yeah, like there in previous years, there's been some spitting and it's been fines. But to your point, I feel like the emphasis, if it's on sportsmanship, they might have to make an example here.
Man, oh man,
like that might be how it ends up.
Have you ever been a part of that? Like, guys spitting at each other. Obviously, there's trash talk, all of that type of stuff. I just think to do it in the era of 18,000 cameras as well. Like, you're not getting away with anything nowadays. Like, maybe late 80s, early 90s, but like,
no,
it's out. Have you ever heard of that?
No, it's not funny, but when you start thinking about it like that, maybe this makes me a bad guy. It becomes funny to me, where it's like you're playing on opening night against the Dallas Cowboys. You're the Super Bowl defending champions, and you just straight up, like, did you think that there isn't an eye in the sky that would have caught that? They could catch everything on that field. Okay, like the idea that would occur. I couldn't get over it. It almost seems like the WWE. It's like a scripted thing. Like it was that mind blowing to me.
It was wild. It was a wild thing to see. And then obviously the other thing that went towards you guys, which certainly helped, which is why our pick is under protest. I do want to make that known, Doogie. The hour-long weather delay, which completely stalled what the Philadelphia Eagles were about to do. I mean, they force a turnover, and all of a sudden, we're going to stop gameplay for an hour. You guys got to go back to your dressing rooms. We saw 44 points scored prior to the weather delay, 0 afterwards. How do you explain that, Luke?
So sometimes what happens, and it's a bit kind of the ebb and flow of football, but when you have something clicking, which both offenses were clicking, when you have a break like that, you don't really go into the locker room and say, hey, what should we change up? Because everything is working, right? Where on the flip side, both defenses are going to be like, hey, we're really getting our tails kicked here. Let's go in here and, let's analyze with a little more time what they're doing. And now let's start calling defenses, that'll put them in a bad spot. So that's kind of what I make of that, because it worked on both sides, where it's like when you have that extra 20, 30 minutes to now buzz all the film and be like, okay, what will, sit down. There's a little bit less chaos because it's not like a play's getting called, the sideline sets. You can kind of sit there and be like, well, they're doing this. This is their game plan that's just working. Let's adjust. Where, if you probably do another 30-minute break, I bet the offenses come back and say, this is what their adjustment is. We're going to now hit them with this. So I do think that did play into, for both teams, played into effect after why there wasn't as much scoring.
Partsy, I thought Dak looked not bad for the Dallas Cowboys. They weren't terrible. I think anything other than not terrible was a victory for the Dallas Cowboys. But
I agree.
A lot of people at this time of year are talking about their MVP favorites. If Hurts does that, on the routine, he is going to be tough to keep off the MVP ballot, man. That's just impressive stuff, the way he conducts himself out there.
Yeah, I'll say this, Partsy, what is a bit strange, and clearly this guy athletically is unbelievable. One of the best athletes in the world. Okay. What gets weird to me, and I'm not pointing this all at Jalen Hurts. I don't know if it's part of their offense. If it's just kind of, hey, we're in control, this is what we want to do. The only thing that is the knock on Hurts from winning an MVP is the pass game. And you look yesterday, they had one ball that they connected down the field, and it was just Jahan Dotson. A.J. Brown had one catch. It was for 8 yards, and it was under 2 minutes left in the game. Devontae Smith, I believe, was 3 for 16 for an average of 5.3 yards. A couple of those were screens. So it gets weird because he's such an electric runner. The touchdown scrambles are unbelievable. A couple of the third down conversions are unbelievable. But it's like you've got A and B, one of the best duos at wide receiver. Why can't we sit back there and sling the pill? And is it the route concepts? Is it him going through his progression? It's hard to kind of pinpoint, but I think if he can kind of get that aspect to his game, one, they'll be unstoppable. But two, that'll really now put him into that conversation with Lamar, with Josh Allen, potentially with Joe Burrow, Mahomes, that crew. If he can just kind of develop that next step, that'll be a big thing for him in his MVP case.
Yeah, it is bizarre. 4 targets combined for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I know a lot of people who are betting on the overs on those two, and that clearly was not a winning proposition for those guys. OverDrive brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. I think it's time to get into the picks, boys. So we got a 4-pack that we got to get into tonight, starting with tonight, a Friday nighter in week 1 down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. You guys are on the clock. It is the Chiefs favored by 3. Last I checked, it was 3. I will double check right now. It is still 3 points over the Chargers. Who you taking, boys?
Partsy, I don't think you're going to have a problem with this, but I am open for discussion. I think we got to go Chiefs here, and I'll give you my reasoning. First off, everybody's been claiming that they're done, they're washed, their run's over, they're no longer a Super Bowl contender. They still are. They're absolutely loaded. I think the O-line's better. Mahomes is still the guy. Okay, you look at Xavier Worthy at the end of last year, humming. Obviously, having Rashee Rice suspended is going to hurt, but Pacheco's healthy. And my guy, Steve Spags, is still calling the shots on defense. Plus, if there's a team that can play in prime time and travel and do well with all the media, it's KC. I for 3 points, I expect it to be a tight game, but I have a very, very hard time believing that the Chargers are going to knock off Kansas City in the opening week. I do, Partsy.
I totally agree. Every time somebody tries to pump up the Chargers, they seem to do the same thing where it looks good and it's like flashy and it's going to do this, but they just don't do it. I'm totally on board with that pick.
Where are you at with Travis Kelce? Do you think he's capable of having, we call it a bounce back, even though, he's a great player, but I didn't think he had his great stuff last season.
I'll tell you what, Noodles, what I think they need to have happen is when Rasheed gets back, you have Worthy be your stretch the field guy. He's an absolute burner. He can run like the wind, kind of like Tyreek back when they had that going. Rashee Rice will be your underneath, but also he can still stretch the field, kind of your all-around receiver. And to me, Kelce becomes that safety net, that zone guy. Hey, if they're going to start playing super soft zone over the top because Xavier Worthy's burning them, Kelce is still unbelievable at finding that window. So I think that Kelce can have a bounce back year, but it helps him having when Rashee Rice gets back and your A option is Rashee, your B option is Xavier Worthy or vice versa, whichever way you want to. And he becomes your C guy where you can't really hey, we're not chipping Kelce off the line. We're not doubling him. We're not bracketing. We got other problems. He's going to have a big year. So I think he will have a bounce back year statistically.
You're locking in the Chiefs.
Locking it in.
That is such a bad pick, guys. That is such a bad pick. I'm telling you. The Chiefs might end up winning this game, right? They've won a lot of these games against the Chargers, but what the Chargers have done is they've played the Kansas City Chiefs extremely well and extremely tight for the last 6 games. Between these two have been settled by a field goal or less. So usually it pays to be on the Chargers in these matchups. Glad
it's serious.
Hazenbro is on them tonight down in Sao Paulo. I'm feeling good about it. Fast forward to Sunday, week 1, first Sunday. It's going to be fantastic. Lots of great games on the slate. We're taking a look at the Tampa Bay and Falcons game, a little NFC South divisional matchup. Tampa Bay favored by 1.5 going in on the road, and I think they beat the doors off the Atlanta Falcons. I think the Falcons are a decent team, but I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a solid team. They're healthy. The defense is there, and I think that they'll be able to stop whatever the Falcons throw at them. And Baker Mayfield showed that he can be a top-tier quarterback in this league. I know there's a little bit of banged up out in the wide receiver group, but they got a rookie, Emeka Egbuka. I think he comes in. He's going to have a superb game here in week 1. I think they win this one. So we're taking the Bucs, laying the points, 1.5.
Wow.
I'll be honest. When Baker Mayfield shows up during the coin toss and spits on someone and gets kicked out of the game, it's just gonna go our way again.
No, we're not seeing any Spitgate. No Spitgate to start this.
Party, do you not think that Tampa Bay is going to beat the pants off of Atlanta?
I do.
Yeah. Come on.
I do.
It's a
But,
layup game.
Yeah, I was surprised it's only 1.5. So the only hope I've really got with this thing is, when it's that much of a man, I expect it to be like a 3.5, 4. And I think that 3.5 is probably the line. That always says to me, there's something I don't know. It almost seems too much of a layup, sort of like last night. So I don't hate it. Partsy. Well, I think we could be okay.
Yeah, unless Vita Vea hawks a lug onto Michael Penix, I think I'll be okay.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It really is. It really is. All right, we're going to the 4 o'clock slate. Big game. Detroit, Green Bay, and the Packers now favored by 2.5. It's gone up again. It's now 2.5 points. Where you leaning, fellas?
Parts, I'm with you with whatever you got here. It's tough,
okay,
man.
We're going Pack. We're going Pack. Couple things here. Okay, with or without Micah, I'll explain why.
Sounds like he's playing. Sounds like he might not be playing, right?
Yeah, I saw that, but I still like Green Bay in this situation, and part of it is just the inexperience of the coordinators right now. New team, new division, new organization. There's always a bit of hey, we got to get into the groove of things here. It's a bit frantic. The live bullets are flying now. So that would be my thing right now. And I think the Lions will be great this year. I really do. But the Packers are also loaded. Again, loaded. We'll love to see, Golden at wide receiver, how that goes. Love's got to take the next step. They're pretty tight last year. I think it's a field goal game, very tight game, but I'm going to go with Green Bay. I think they get it done.
Yeah, I think Detroit wins this game outright. The last 3 trips to Lambeau, they've gone into Lambeau and they've beaten the Green Bay Packers. And I think you look at last season, the Detroit Lions probably feel pretty disrespected. Everyone's talking about how they lost their coordinators and it's going to cost them. They're going to come back down to earth.
Ragnow? What about Frank Ragnow?
They lost Frank Ragnow. Absolutely they did, and that's going to be, a work in progress. But I honestly believe that it's all overblown because they just elevated guys from within who know the system, who know the players, and know how it works and how it ticks. I still think Detroit's going to be just as good. Plus, they're getting Aiden Hutchinson back. I love me some Aiden Hutchinson sack props this weekend going up against Jordan Love and company. Love being on the Lions in this one.
Archie, how we feeling? How we feeling about the Pack right now? How you feeling about it?
I don't know. Detroit's so dynamic, and they have some games where they're so good with their crazy plays and their dynamic plays.
It's gone now. Ben Johnson's gone. The interior line, not the same.
They're going to still have that identity with those crazy fake punts and fourth down plays.
The head of the snake is still there. They're still going to be biting kneecaps. They know what they're doing with Danny Campbell.
I got to just defer to you, man. You're the NFL player. It's almost a pick 'em, and I have to go with your decision.
I think the Pack will get it done. And again, I'm feeling pretty. After last night, we got lucky. I'm feeling pretty lucky still. I'm feeling real lucky right now.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's going to be a great game, though. That's the 4 o'clock slate where you sit down, you tune into that one. Absolutely. The Sunday nighter. Could the NFL script it any better? Buffalo and Baltimore, the 2 teams that a lot of people are thinking could compete for the AFC to knock off Patrick Mahomes and end up in a Super Bowl. They play each other week 1, Sunday nighter. Hayes and I are on the clock. Hayes and I are struggling with this one because it's such a tough game, possibly the toughest one that we're going to have to pick all year. Before I make a selection, and we do have a lean, but I do want to get the thoughts from you, Noodles. Buffalo and Baltimore, where's your lean on this one?
You want to?
Noodles don't have.
I do want your honest opinion. Buffalo are 1.5-point dogs at home against Baltimore.
I'm leaning Buffalo. I just think Allen. For some reason, I like this summer. I was thinking about it. I feel like this could be Buffalo's year, and I can't back it up with tremendous information like you guys do, but I had this gut instinct where it was this might be the year that Allen takes them to the promised land.
Yeah.
He's that good. And you know what it is? Maybe it's just I like him. He's such a likable athlete.
He really
hearing
is.
him talk, you know what, that contract was good. I didn't need to squeeze for extra money. He just doesn't seem like a dope. He just seems like a good guy that guys love him, and he plays hard. And I'm a huge Allen fan. So I'm not even talking about more the opponent. I'm more going Buffalo's. I feel like they can get it done. So I hope that helps.
That does help me a lot because we were on the fence. We were 50-50, and I think you swayed me. We are on the Buffalo Bills this weekend. There's a couple things that I like. First of all, you don't have to go that far to watch these 2 teams. Last time they played against each other was in the divisional round in the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills won that football game down in Orchard Park, which is where the game is being played. You're telling me that the Buffalo Bills, as home dogs, aren't going to rally and win this game? I don't think so. They're absolutely going to play. They're going to ball out. You look at the underdogs. Week 1, dogs at home are 23-7 over the last 30 games in week 1 over the last couple of years. 23-7. Somehow, the Buffalo Bills were home dogs in week 1. I can't not go with the Buffalo Bills here. We're laying we're taking the points.
Parts,
we might have this thing wrapped up after week 1.
Yeah, week 1. I agree. I agree. And this isn't even a shot at Buffalo. Buffalo is tremendous. I have them as the 3rd best team in the league right now. Right now, what's the situation with Benford at corner? What's the situation with Tre'Davious White at corner? We don't know. So are they going to be missing both their corners? Also, you got to sit here and you got to think, very hard to beat a team twice. And yes, it was last year, but all offseason, Lamar has been feeling, he's got that sour taste being with those turnovers. Okay, Mark Andrews as well. Buffalo got us. We kind of handed them a lot of plays. They got us. Guess what? We get to right that wrong right off the bat. This Baltimore team is absolutely loaded, top to bottom. They went out and got Jair Alexander as well. They have an unbelievable run-stopping defense. Okay, you got Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers stretching the field, and you go get D-Hop to be that big kind of possession receiver underneath. Oh, by the way, King Henry's still toting the pill. Come on now. Let's be honest. Come on.
Dude, Buffalo,
Let's be honest,
to me,
boys.
Buffalo, offensively, defensively, one of the toughest teams in the trenches. It's going to be a physical football game. I like the Buffalo
It will be a great
Bills
game. Great
at
game.
home. Oh, what a way to start week one. Sunday Night Football on TSN. It's going to be fantastic. The picks are in. You guys on the Chiefs tonight, laying 3 points. We're on the Bucks laying 1.5. You're on Green Bay laying 2.5. And we're taking the Buffalo Bills as home dogs. And we'll see how it all shakes out. I expect at least probably going 3-1 this week, I think. I think 3-1 is pretty well what we're looking at this weekend. We'll sweep ours, and you'll fumble one of your picks here. I think it's going to end up being the Detroit game when the Lions come through.
See you later, Parts.
We'll
Good
see you
job,
in the group
man.
chat, Luke.
Can't wait. See you, boys.
Luke Wilson, former NFLer, TSN football analyst. You shouldn't feel great about those picks, though. You really shouldn't feel great.
Dude, I could say the same about yours. We do this every week. We hate your picks, you hate ours, and then it all kind of plays itself out.
Got me all nervous about this Buffalo thing.
Well, you're with us now. You're with Hazenbro now. You're attached to the hip with Hazenbro, just so you know.
Nervous.
You should give me one of these right now because you're with us. Come on, Noodles.
Do that thing.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, Big J's game down in the Bronx tonight, taking on the Yankees. Coming up on the other side, Keegan Matheson going to help tee it up. You're listening to OverDrive on TSN 2, TSN 1050, and live up on YouTube.
Week one rolls on from Sao Paulo, Brazil tonight as the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The NFL lives here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Mail-in in Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at Boston Pizza where you get an entree, a side, and a drink. You get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. Joining us now on the line, our good buddy Keegan Matheson, MLB.com, Jays reporter, joining us on the Maple Toyota hotline. What's going on, Keeks?
I'm in New York, but I'm thinking about Boston Pizza now, fellas. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about this series tonight because, I mean, you got the Jays, the Yankees. There's 3 games separates these two in the standings when it comes to that AL East crown. How big of a series is this?
Biggest of the year, guys. I know we've said that a lot of times already this season. It's hard to get away from that, but this one, it's the only way to look at it. You look at the AL East, you look at the stakes, you look at how long is left. I asked John Schneider this before the game, and he said that even he and the players at this point, you have to look at it a bit differently. This is not a series in May. You cannot just say it's another few games. You try to win everything. None of that matters anymore. None of that sticks for me. You have to approach it differently. You have to think of it differently, and you have to play it differently. You have to play these like they are postseason games. I think you'll see a bit of that. You'll see them being more aggressive, a little more picky with who they're using. But this is big time, man. I remember back in, was it June, guys, when the Yankees came to Toronto, and that was the biggest series of the season back then. But at that point, the Yankees were probably saying, come on, grow up. You know, the Yankees have had a lot of those. At this point, it's big for both of them. Everybody involved really gives a damn about what we're about to see these next few days.
Any concern about the swapping out of Bassett and Scherzer as the rotation?
A little bit, because ideally this is just precautionary and everybody's happy and healthy. But is it a back issue that just needs exactly 24 more hours, or is he still dealing with something? We'll see. We're going to have to keep an eye on this through the game, guys, because last time out you could tell something wasn't quite right. Didn't have his best stuff, was not as good as we've seen him. We're going to have to keep an eye on this second inning, third inning, see how he looks. But if it's just a matter of 24 more hours and it's perfect, great. Everybody's happy. But anybody who's had a cranky back, a bad neck, anything like that, you know that it drags on. And ideally one day is enough, guys, but we'll see. That's something where you're really going to have to keep an eye on the velocity and everything else tomorrow.
That whole pitching staff, like bullpen, starting rotation, like that's got to be a concern for Schneider as a whole, Keegs. Like the offense was great in Cincy, but if they want to roll in there and have those guys go on the mound and do that stuff that they were pulling in Cincy, that's going to be big-time problems.
Yeah, you're going to get rocked if you do that against a real team. You're going to get absolutely rocked. Against the Yankees, too. If you make a few mistakes against the Yankees, suddenly 8 runs turns into 12, 14 runs. They are going to blast off against this team. And the Blue Jays pitchers need to be better. Home runs have been a problem for their starters all season long. And they have ranked among the worst in baseball. They've been up there with the A's, which is not the type of company you want to keep in any regard, really. The Yankees hit a ton of home runs, man. And that's why this team, guys, I think I don't think they're a powerhouse, but I think they're a team you hate to face in October because they can get hot for 2 days, hit a ton of home runs, and wreck your whole season. Wreck your whole year instantly. And the way that this bullpen and rotation, like you say, O-Dog, and pitching, it's not good enough right now. All year it's been a luxury for John Schneider. You show up, press whatever button, you look good, you win, everybody's happy. That's not happening right now. They look average right now. Not terrible, but it's coming back around. But average is not good enough. I mean, my God, not at this point of the season, not at Yankee Stadium. Not when you're trying to win the division. This is not about sneaking into the party with a wild card, which is like being the guy at the party no one really invited. You're trying to win the East. This is different.
Well, it's interesting because like the bullpen has been a bit of a mess recently, obviously, and Trey Savage, who was more of a conversation a few weeks ago, his last 3 starts in AAA, he's gone 12 1/3 innings, 19 strikeouts. He's given up just 4 runs at that level. Obviously, big difference between AAA and the big leagues. But if they continue to sputter out of the bullpen, like, is that a guy that the Jays could look at potentially adding and taking a look at him down the stretch here?
Still very possible, guys. And even if you're at it in September, you can still be eligible for the playoffs. It's a boring explanation that involves a commissioner's okay. It works. It usually happens. It can happen. And with Savage, I understand not wanting to make him the savior, not wanting to put pressure on him. I also believe that he is a fully functioning adult, and at some point you've got to handle the pressure, and I think he can. It's a really simple conversation for me, guys, and I think we've talked before about the best 13 or 14 pitchers on a team. And the simplest way to look at that is to pick who's number 13 or 14 right now. You're comparing Trey Savage to Ryan Barucki. It would have been Dylan Tate before he was optioned today. Tommy Nance has been good lately, but those lower-end arms in the bullpen, would you rather them or would you rather Trey Savage? I know that development needs to be considered a little bit, but we've spent a lot of time in this city over the past 7-8 years talking about Nate Pearson, about Ricky Tiedemann. Pearson's bouncing around as a fringe reliever. Ricky Tiedemann's got surgery now. These guys don't last forever. When you've got a chance, you need to ride it while it's hot. And Trey Savage looked really good in his last relief outing, 3 innings. If he has another good one, I think that really picks up. That's still an option for me, guys, and it's still tempting as hell because he's really good. And if you're comparing him to your number 13 or 14 pitcher, I know which one I'm looking at.
Keegan, we talked about the importance of pitching and how it has to straighten itself out. But as far as offensively, on the broadcast, they talk about guys picking each other up and different guys stepping up. There's been Varsho, there's been Springer and Bichette. They've been so good. Like, would this not be a series where you'd look at a guy like Vladdy to say, this could be a great time? Like, he's been what he is since the injury, coming back from it. But, man, what a time for him to, like, come alive and take control of this series in the Bronx. I think it would be massive for him and the team.
You're dead right. Exactly. Perfect time. It's nice to see a roster that works together. It's good to see players pick everyone up. Everyone's cheery. At a certain point, Vladdy needs to light the Yankees up. He's done that a lot of times in his career. He loves playing baseball here. I think there's a little bit of an edge that comes out in Vladdy when he's here, like a real edge that we don't see a lot of other times. He's been good. We've talked about it all year. He's been good, almost great, almost who he can be, but not quite all the way there. No better time than right now. Hit a couple of home runs, shush the crowd while you're running around the bases, upset some people while you're doing that. Why not? You know, this team hasn't found itself in many of those abrasive situations, I guess I'll call them this year. Now's the time for it, man. Add some spice to this. Vladdy has owned this place a few different times in his career. And a performance like that, man, puts the Blue Jays right back to where they were a month ago, which is the rest of baseball talking about them. The rest of baseball is not talking about the Blue Jays right now. They're kind of losing steam. Vladdy's that one guy. If he lights up this series, he's the one guy. He changes it all.
Should Springer get some MVP votes?
Man, I can't believe that's a real question that, I have to consider this year. It's amazing, right? We were talking about him in spring training, guys. I didn't see any of this coming. Won't pretend to be smart. That would be a complete lie. I saw none of this coming. And Noodles, I thought the conversation we'd be having at this time this year in spring training was, does he have a place on the roster?
Right.
Can the Blue Jays keep carrying this guy in his contract? It's been one of the most impressive seasons I've ever seen, honestly, given where he came from and what he's meant to this team. And I'm a big believer, guys, in really getting down to the definition of valuable, okay? It's not the most home runs. It's not valuable to a team. Who was the most valuable to their team? George Springer's got a lot of arguments over top of the big names. Now, he's not going to beat out a Judge or Raleigh, those types of guys. That's crazy. But on the back of a ballot, I've got all the time in the world for that. And it's something that voters, myself included, will have to really consider. And I'm a big believer in really getting into the definition of that word. Again, valuable. Who mattered the most to their team? It's hard to make an argument for many guys over George Springer this year, because if you make George Springer who he was last year on the 2025 roster, this team's toast. You're probably fighting for a third wild card, same old story.
So what is it, Keegan, that's allowed him to have this renaissance season? What's been so different with him?
Last year, he was playing defense, I think, as a hitter. He was trying to react. He was on his heels. It was very hesitant and tentative, and that is never going to work. George Springer is underratedly one of the best athletes I've ever been around, guys. Outside linebacker, NFL star, incredible athlete. And I think he's gotten back into that finally. He got away from it. He was playing defensive baseball and trying to hit singles. That's not going to be George Springer's game, guys. He is big and strong and quick and powerful enough to be launching 30 home runs, which he's about to do. And I think that's a huge credit to the hitting staff, but a huge credit to Springer as well for looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, that sucked. 2024 was not it. And if you do that again, we're probably having a way worse conversation right now. He reflected on that and was realistic with himself that it wasn't good. And he's bounced back from that. And you see someone using their athleticism. I don't care that he's 35. I know that's old in baseball, but he is an incredible athlete. That's why he was so good, so young, top prospect and everything with the Astros. He's back into it, man. It looks amazing.
Well, we're excited. It's going to be a big series down in New York. You're down taking in all the action. We'll let you get back to work. First pitch coming up in about an hour and 25 minutes or so, hour and a half almost. But appreciate taking time to join us as always, Keegan. We'll do it again soon.
All right, I'm off to the dining room, fellas. Take care.
Oh, I'm jealous.
He loves
I'm
it,
jealous.
A baseball feed bag must be just something else.
Oh, yeah.
Something else.
Dude, I went to, I was at Dodgers. Yeah, I was at the Dodgers Stadium, and I was there for, media for whatever reason. The snacks that they had at that place was unbelievable. It's like you walked into
never ending.
It's like you walked into Willy Wonka's candy shop. They had everything in there imaginable. Noodles, you would have been in heaven. The sweets and candies that were there was stuff that they don't sell in Canada.
What assignment did you have at Dodger Stadium as a media member?
How did you get credentialed down there?
So what happened was I was interning with the Canadian Baseball Network when I was still in school. I was in my first semester at Centennial for sports journalism, and I was going down to L.A. for vacation, and the Jays happened to be in town. So I shot a note to my editor, to the great Bob Elliott, actually, and I asked him, any chance at all I could get in there? And one of my professors was there also covering the game, and he said he'd take me under my wing, and about 20 minutes later, I had credentials.
Did you go in there and just pig out right in front of him too? Did you I
might have packed a couple of snacks in the bag.
Did you at least bring
a
pen and a pad of paper?
Yeah, I was a professional. And what I was told was there was two things. So this is 2017. So Jose was still there, and Russell Martin was still there. It was kind of the remnants of what was, I suppose. I think John Donaldson was still there at the time as well. But I remember being told, do not, whatever you do, speak to Jose Bautista or Russell Martin pregame, and obviously the starter, who is Marcus Stroman that day, off limits as well. Those were the three things I was told before I went in to speak to the boys.
Why? But Bautista had that big of a reputation, like you're not allowed to talk to him?
Just apparently, like he was very dialed in and zoned in. He's like, don't talk to Jose before the game. Just don't do it. So
Really?
I didn't. I did not speak to him. Spoke to a couple other guys. Spoke to Pilar. I ended up writing a story on one of the relievers at the time. Oh, yeah. I went in there and I worked. I had a notepad. I had a recorder and all that nonsense.
You wore a hat, too, didn't you? You wore some, like, weird
Did not
news
wear a
or
hat.
something.
No hat. No hat. I should have wore a fedora like I did back in the day. I should have wore a fedora. That would have been acceptable. Walk in there like a 1950s reporter. That's what you're thinking? That would have been funny.
That's what I was thinking. I love it, though.
That would have been funny. Keegan and Matheson joining us on the Maple Toyota hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4 gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. All right, we got the FanDuel Best Bets. That's coming up next here on OverDrive.
This Sunday on TSN 1050, hear the best NFL matchups from across Week 1, including the Commanders taking on the Giants, the Lions versus the Packers, and the Sunday Nighter as Lamar Jackson's Ravens face off against Josh Allen's Bills. Coverage starts at 1 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The NFL lives here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm looking at the NFL Week 1 slate, couple Sunday games. I like the Bengals on the money line. They traditionally have come out slow in Weeks 1 and 2, but they played their starters in the preseason, and they're playing the Browns. They should get the win. I'm on Bengals money line and Bucks money line. I got them in the Hazenbro picks. I think that they put a butt-whooping on the Falcons. Give me Bucks money line as well. Parlay those together. You get that at plus 164. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The first quarter means as much as the fourth when you bet on football on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. There's one other game that I do like tonight or this Sunday. Seattle Seahawks currently are 1.5-point dogs at home against the Niners. No Christian McCaffrey at practice today, dealing with a calf.
So horrifying.
Another calf.
Of all things, a calf injury. I read that today. I could not believe it. I was just like,
I'm out on the Niners already this season. I'm done.
Wow.
They're done.
You know that's going to lead into him not playing. And then it's just
he'll end
gonna
up
be
in Switzerland, Germany, whatever, and we're not going to see Christian McCaffrey maybe ever again. He could be done.
Awful.
His career could be over. But yeah, should be a game. I like the Seahawks maybe to pull off the money line upset as the dogs there. It's gonna be a fun night though. You got Friday night football, Chiefs Chargers. Yeah. You got Felix Auger-Aliassime about to go toe to toe with Yannick Sinner for a spot to take on Alcaraz.
Just took down. Took down Joker, man.
Straight sets against the Joker.
Wow,
unbelievable. So we'll see what Felix can do. Can he keep the Cinderella run alive against Sinner, or are we gonna get another Sinner Alcaraz final this upcoming weekend? So, and obviously Jays Yankees, massive series beginning tonight. Gosman on the mound. We'll see what he can do against the Yanks.
I'm calling 2 for 3. They win 2 for 3.
2 out of 3. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. I'll take that too. Prove you can win on the road. The road schedule has been brutal. They've been like 500 on the road this year. So hopefully they can get a W on the road, especially against the Yankees. Separate a little bit. It's gonna be a massive series. All right, boys. I think that does it for us.
Good stuff, buddy.
All right, good stuff. Enjoy your weekends, folks. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. You guys will be back Monday at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.